be with you here today. And it was really cool as we were coming out. There were all these great concert posters of the extraordinary bands and musicians and performers who have played here in the back room. And the last one that I saw on my way out was at the drive-in. Now they're from El Paso, Texas. In the great tradition of great rock and roll bands from El Paso, Texas, like the Bobby Fuller Four, the I Fought the Law song, which may have been better in the Clash version, I don't know, but it's a great West Texas gem. This campaign, politics, our democracy at its best, has that punk rock ethic of doing it yourself without corporate involvement. No lobbyists, no poll-tested, no focus group-driven things that you say, no talking points that you recite. Just folks connecting like we are right now, eyeball to eyeball, sharing one another's stories, and in so doing, bringing this very divided, very polarized country together at this defining moment of truth. In El Paso, Texas, Amy and I are raising our three kiddos. Ulysses, who's 12, Molly, who just turned 11 years old last month, and their little brother Henry, who is 8. In El Paso, Texas, do we have a Henry in the room? Way to go. Enrique. Amy and I met in El Paso. She was not originally from there. In fact, was returning from spending a year in Guatemala teaching school, and was passing through El Paso on her way to go do bigger and better things, she thought. Somebody set us up on a blind date. And like any good El Paso boy, I picked up Amy where she was. Remember, this is pre-Tinder, so you don't necessarily know what the other person looks like. You can't swipe in or swipe out of the deal. You show up, you're locked in for the date. Drove her to the U.S.-Mexico border, the Paso del Norte Bridge. And we walked over, and we had a drink at the Kentucky Club, where they dicen, that they invented the margarita. It's the bar where I would like to think that Bob Dylan wrote Tom Thumb's Blues. You know the beginning of that song? When you're lost in the rain in Juarez, and it's Easter time too, I would love to think that he wrote that at that bar. I want to think that that's where Johnny Cash bought the drugs that he was busted for when he crossed into El Paso, Texas, a little bit later that day. And I saw one of the world's greatest musicians on my way in right here, somebody who I've seen perform in El Paso, Texas. I'd like to think that that's where Mickey Raphael has a drink after he's performed his show at the Avon Chavez Theater. Mickey, are you here still? Ladies and gentlemen, Mickey Raphael at the back. Thank you for being here. Person right next to me said, greatest harmonica player in America. I like that. And I have a t-shirt that says the same. So that's where we start our day. Have a margarita or two, go next door to Martino's and have dinner. And then we walk down Avenida Juarez past the Customs House, which was a decisive point in the battle for Juarez in the Mexican Revolution. It really decided the fate of that country, everything that would follow since. Before that, in 1909, it was the first place that a president of the United States of America and a president of the Republic of Mexico ever met. And neither Taft nor Diaz needed a translator because they each spoke both English and Spanish. They also tell us when they had a reciprocal meeting on the U.S. side of the border in El Paso, Taft broke the chair that he was sitting in. The splinters are still on display in the Chamber of Commerce boardroom. From there, we walked to the Mission of Guadalupe, which has stood the test of time for more than 330 years. We just sat down on a park bench in that little placita and took in the sights and the sounds and the smell of elote and the people who were dancing and just having fun. And I could see in Amy's eyes that she was falling in love with our community, the largest binational community in the Western Hemisphere. 3 million who come together, who are joined and not separated by the Rio Grande River, speaking 2 different languages from 2 cultures and 2 histories, who join to form one people, far greater, more powerful, more magical than the sum of their parts or the number of people involved. And not unconnected to that, our hometown of El Paso, Texas is one of, if not the safest cities in the United States of America today. Safe, not despite a quarter of those with whom we live, were born somewhere else, chose us, left their family, their comfort, their culture, their language, their country, to start anew here. To do better for themselves and for their kids, but also because they were called to do better for all of us, to contribute to our greatness and the success that we enjoy in this country. So imagine the shock to my fellow El Pasoans and Juarezans as well, to see elected a man who described Mexican immigrants as rapists and criminals, who would go on to describe asylum seekers as animals and an infestation. Now, I might expect to hear a human being described as an infestation based on their race or their ethnicity sometime during the Third Reich. I never would have expected it in my own hometown. A president who sought to ban all Muslims, all people of one faith, from the shores of a country that is comprised of people from the world over, from every walk of life, every tradition of faith, happily un-American, except it was happening in America on our watch. And I'll tell you, we know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that it does not just offend our sensibilities or our ears or our best traditions. It is effectively and functionally changing the very nature and character of this country. The day on which Donald Trump signed that Muslim ban, the mosque in Victoria, Texas, in my home state, was burned to the ground. You do not get kids in cages. You do not have the deaths of 7 children under our care until the President of the United States has given people permission to treat them as less than human beings that they are. So how do we meet this challenge? Earlier this year, in our home community of El Paso, Donald Trump came to hold one of these great MAGA rallies, using El Paso, Texas, and the U.S.-Mexico border as a backdrop to sell his policies, a 2,000-mile, 30-foot-high, $30 billion wall that will not be built on the international boundary, which is the center line of the Rio Grande River channel. It will force you and me to take our fellow Americans' ranches and homes and farms and properties well into the United States of America, an expensive, un-American solution in search of a problem, because those border communities like mine are among the safest places you can be in the United States of America. If immigration is a problem, it is the best problem this country can have today. In the face of those lies, that intolerance, and that hatred, and that racism, our community stood up to be counted. More than 10,000 people took to the streets of El Paso in a march not against Donald Trump, but for truth, for this country, for a better future for every single one of our kids. Because we know that this is our moment of truth. That our kids, who are our conscience, will look back on this moment knowing full well, Mom and Dad, you knew what was going down in America in 2019. Amen. You knew what was happening to these kids in your own country. And what did you do? Did you expect someone else to come in and ride to the rescue? Do you think that this would just play itself out? Or did you stand up and take charge and take ownership and take this into your own hands? Make sure that we define ourselves not by our fears or our smallness or our parents, by our ambitions and our aspirations, the very best of us and who we have always been and who we can be going forward. Those were the folks who stood up on that day in February in El Paso, Texas. And I will tell you, I've never been more proud of my hometown and the people that I live with, except on that day, was transcended by another one that I just witnessed this last weekend. You might have read these stories in Clinton, Texas, just outside of El Paso. We have border patrol cells, cinder block walls, concrete floors, hundreds of children who have been separated from their parents, toddlers as young as 5 months old not wearing diapers, meaning that they're shitting in their pants on the very floor that they will sleep on that night. Other children of no relation to those kids forced to take care of them, no soap or toothpaste or any kind of hygiene provided to those kids who have chicken pox and the flu and are sick. And just imagine the torture that you or your kids would feel, strangers in a strange land, incarcerated, having committed no crime whatsoever, except being a human being and doing what any human being would do under the same set of circumstances, knowing not when or if you will ever see your parents again. We have the largest mass incarceration of children in this country's history who committed no crime since the internment of Japanese and Japanese Americans in World War II. And in this democracy, do not for a second take any comfort that it was the decision of one man, Donald Trump, of one party, the Republican Party, in a country whose democracy is of, by, and for the people. Every day, every minute that this persists, it is on every single one of us. And knowing that full well, the people of Nashville, last week, the hot desert sun showed up by the hundreds to make sure that those kids inside those cells knew that we knew that they were in there. And we are not going to stop until they are released, reunited with their families, and treated like the human beings that they are. Are you all with us on this one? We know that this moment will define us one way or another. Much as we have been defined by previous decisions in this country's history, it was not just the internment of Japanese Americans in World War II. Some of you may know the story of the St. Louis, a ship which in 1939 set sail from Hamburg, Germany for Cuba, with more than 930 Jewish refugees aboard. These were children, they were women, they were men, they were human beings, rejected from being able to land in Cuba. They tried to dock in Florida. Our president, our government, sent Coast Guard cutters out to prevent them from being able to come to this country. I don't know what the excuse was in 1939, but we sent that ship back across the Atlantic, and more than 250 of her passengers would be murdered in the Holocaust. Children, women, and men. And I know that to a person, we all tell ourselves, if I were alive in 1939, if I were in a position to do something about it in 1942, when it came to those Japanese Americans, I would have stood up. I would have stopped this country from making that mistake. Here we are in 2019, with a chance that will never come back to us again. And we've got to make sure that every single one of us, no me importa if you are a Republican, if you are, you're in the right place. A Democrat, you too are in the right place. Independents, those of you who cannot vote at all because of your age or criminal history, I don't care. You are here right now, and this country is going to hear all of us. And we are going to rewrite this country's immigration laws in our own image. We're going to accept those asylum seekers, never again put another child in another cage, release those families from detention, make sure that they are successful here in this country. We're going to invest in solutions in Guatemala and El Salvador and Honduras, so no family ever has to make that trek again. And then those who are here, who every day make this a better country by their very presence. More than 1 million dreamers who live in a constant fear of deportation back to a country they have never known. We make them U.S. citizens in this, their true home country. Millions more working the toughest, hardest jobs under the sun so that this country can feed itself and clothe itself and survive and grow economically. far too often, their immigration status used as a leverage against them to pay them no wage at all, kept in a modern-day bondage in this great democracy, this land of the free, the home of the brave. We are going to legalize America, allow people to come forward and contribute even more to this country's success. We're going to make the most of what every single immigrant and asylum seeker and refugee wants to contribute to America. And let's do that together. Until recently, I thought that I lived in a state that was too red to count. Why bother competing or showing up? The results are already spoken for. But because of this moment, and because of our kids, 2017 and 2018, we got after it. We visited every single one of the 254 counties of Texas. We went to the reddest places, not in the state of Texas, places that voted for Donald Trump 96% in the 2016 election. So red, you can see them glowing from outer space as you orbit planet Earth. And yet I hope you agree with me, they're every bit as deserving of being heard, of being listened to, of being represented, of being fought for, of being served, of being included in the conversation, and so we did. And what we realized is because Democrats had fear to tread and did not show up, Republicans didn't have to either, and those folks were functionally unrepresented, not able to participate in this democracy. We were in a small community called Archer City. You Larry McMurtry fans out there will know it from Lonesome Dove and The Last Picture Show. We're walking into Burns Cafe to have a town hall meeting with 12 people in Archer City. 20 people if you count the 8 innocents who were having breakfast there when we walked in. Before I can get in the door, though, a guy stops me, shows me a black and white photo. It's his dad in 1948 talking to the last Senate candidate from either party to show up in Archer City. It was Lyndon Baines Johnson, who had dropped out of the sky in a helicopter, landed on the courthouse grounds, walked over to the American Legion Hall, and listened to those whom he sought to serve and represent before he ever asked for their vote. He said, look, my dad had lived in Archer City his entire life. I've lived in Archer City my entire life. It's been 70 years since someone has showed up. And when we showed up for everyone, everywhere, wrote nobody off, took nobody for granted, ran on a bold, progressive agenda, following those moms who demand action and talking about an end to gun violence, universal background checks, and ending the sales of weapons of war in our communities. We said that in small rural communities and in big blue places. We said it everywhere. When we talked about healthcare, meaning not just primary healthcare, prescription drug healthcare, but mental health care in a state whose largest mental health care provider was the county jail system. We also talk about health care meaning that every woman makes her own decisions about her own body. And people show up. In a state that had ranked 50th in voter turnout. Not because we love our democracy any less than you do here in Tennessee, but because we were literally drawn that way. Based on your race or your ethnicity, you were drawn out of a congressional district to diminish the power of your vote or the likelihood that your voice would ever be heard. We transcended those racist barriers in our state to produce the greatest voter turnout in a midterm in Texas history. Won 500,000 Republicans who voted for a Republican for governor, voted for us on that same ballot, and young voter turnout up 200% over the last year. And look, though we were down on election night 2.6 Texas was forever transformed. We elected 2 new Democrats, replacing long-term Republicans, flipping the House of Representatives. We changed the composition of our state legislature, and we added us 17 African American women elected to judicial positions, changing criminal justice in a very election in the most diverse city in the United States of America. So this democracy, 243 years in, facing the greatest attacks from without and from within that we have ever known, and the greatest set of challenges that we've ever seen as a country together. This democracy, I firmly believe, can still work, because I see it here right now with you in Nashville. We saw it all across the state of Texas. And people in this country, does not matter where you live, how red or blue your state is, believe that we can do better than what we're doing right now. And it will not allow us to divide us or to keep us from the greatness we deserve as Americans. So at the heart of this campaign is our democracy. We're counting on one another. I need you to be part of this. Your willingness to knock on doors, to make phone calls, to register to vote, to talk to your classmates, your workmates, your neighbors, your family members, that Republican mother of yours. And I say this from experience, the son of a lifelong Republican mother who we convinced to vote for me in that last election. So I really do this. We're counting on you at this moment of truth. We're going to bring everybody in, and we will do it also in office. A new Voting Rights Act to make sure that what happened in Georgia that prevented Stacey Abrams from being illegally, lawfully elected governor of that state never happens again. Voter ID laws, people out the door, same day that automatic voter registration brings tens of millions of our fellow Americans. And then walk the talk every day on this road. This campaign is comprised of people, not a single dime from a single political action committee, or lobbyist, or corporation, or special interest. All people, all the time. And it's only in that way that we will meet these challenges that we face. Climate change, which if we do not use every second of the 10 years that remain to us as a human race to free ourselves from the dependence on fossil fuels, fully embrace renewable technology, allow farmers to take the lead on planting cover crops, move more carbon out of the air, put pin on the environmental services that they provide. And we will lose this opportunity forever. If we cannot make sure that universal, guaranteed, high-quality health care is a human right and not a function of privilege or luck or circumstance or affair. If we make sure that we confront the fact that we have the largest prison population on the face of the planet, disproportionately comprised of people of color, far too many there for possession of a substance that is legal in more than half the states in our country. We can end the war on drugs and the prohibition on marijuana, expunge the arrest record of everyone arrested for possession of marijuana. Make sure that we free people to be their best and reveal their genius for themselves, for their families, and for this country. I am confident we will be defined by what we are about to do. Not the walls that barricade us off from the rest of the world, not the cages in which we place children who are at their most vulnerable and desperate moments. We're going to define ourselves by the greatness of America, and that means every single one of us in America.